Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel, our social media, or our website. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Today, we're discussing the classical Omega Moonwatch, but we're discussing the Sapphire Sandwich, an upscale ground-bound Omega Moonwatch. It features Sapphire over the caseback. Yes, it's a display caseback, as well as the dial in place of the more fragile Hesalite that's used on the astronaut watches. Now, 42 millimeters in diameter. The watch is 13.7 millimeters thick by 48.2 millimeters lug-to-lug with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw it on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, and it's a comfortable piece. It must have seemed huge back in 1969 when the astronauts flew with the predecessors of this watch, but 42 millimeters today in stainless steel feels like a contemporary full-sized, not quite oversized sports complication. Because it is relatively short lug-to-lug, I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Now, I spoke of upscale appointments. It's not just the sapphire crystals. The strap here, alligator leather, large rectangular scale, is richer than you would expect on a standard Moonwatch, where you might get textile, rubber, or calfskin. Here you're getting gator, and you're getting it bolstered to add a little bit of thickness. There's a lot of leather here. You can see it's black with a monotone stitch, large rectangular scale, matte finish, sheer-sided, showing the layers of construction, and this is a brand new Omega factory strap with calfskin on the underside, and another upscale refinement, a full steel point clasp, polished inside and outside. It has triggers, so it can't pop open accidentally. There's no friction fit here. It is trigger actuated. It is also minderless. You stick the strap in underneath and you size it to suit, and then there are no need for strap minders externally, nor is there any need to see the external length of the strap as it tucks excess length underneath the clasp body. The caseband will be familiar to Omega connoisseurs. Even those with a casual acquaintance with the Seamasters and the Speedmasters since the mid-60s will recognize this lyre-style lug that turns both inboard and outboard with an expanding polished bevel and a minimal satin-finished center case with a longitudinal pattern. You'll also appreciate there is polish between the lugs and a bezel that is polished on its underside but with an aluminum anodized insert on its top side. I don't recommend the watch for the tightest of cuffs because of the cantilever of the bezel, but jacket cuffs should be just fine. We have a little bit of recess and crown guard, shear protection for the pushers as well as the crown. It is a push-down crown. The watch is 50 meters water resistant. The tachometer allows you to gauge the speed of an object over a closed course, such as a fixed mile or kilometer. Because units are not given, you could use either. Here we have the sapphire crystal, which in good taste by Omega is a more expensive cambered and box section rather than flat sapphire, so it has the same classical bubble look of the Hesalite on the standard watch, but with far more scratch resistance. The dial is matte black, so anti-reflective. It's a printed dial, as you can see, with white on black, outstanding contrast, and we have sub-registers, each of which is slightly dished to add another focal plane and a bit of distinction to the dial that a perfectly flat dial would not have. The timepiece, of course, is still issued by NASA today, and it is one of the only instruments certified by NASA for extravehicular activity or spacewalks. The difference is going to be that the NASA watch has a Hesalite crystal, which, though easier to scratch, is harder to shatter. But if you don't regularly chip or shatter sapphires on your other watches, you're going to have no problems here. The other refinement worth mentioning on this watch is on the reverse side. It's not the display caseback, though of course the standard Moonwatch lacks that as well. It's the standard of finish on this caliber 1863, which has beautiful mirrored bevels, and in contrast to the Delrin chronograph break of the standard solid back caliber 1861, this LaMagna-based chronograph caliber has a brass rhodium-plated chronograph break, which you can see in action at center. Now, the movement is quite good looking. Let's talk tech specs real quick. 50 meters water resistant. It is the LaMagna 1873 Bausch. LaMagna movements have been the basis of the Moon and pre-Moon watches since the very beginning, and Omega continues that tradition here. Manual wind, 48-hour power reserve, 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate. It pivots on 18 joules. It is a lateral clutch and cam-operated chronograph. I always felt that lateral clutch chronographs are more beautiful because you can see everything happen. Nothing is hidden. So while they're not quite as smooth and modern as a vertical clutch, they're more interesting to see. You can also see the coulisse or the cam assembly that makes this version of the movement tougher than the column wheel predecessor, which was somewhat susceptible to shock. Now, there are also polished screw heads. The bevels really are a highlight. They look as though they could have been laid by hand. Mirrored, glossy, gleaming broad with absolutely no machined surfacing to speak of. There's also satin finish on the wheels. And there's engine turning on the base plate and then Côte de Genève across the spare bridges. It's a good-looking movement, also a very tough movement, and, fun fact, the standard Moonwatch is more shock-resistant than the X33 that was supposed to succeed it. The Sapphire sandwich, there you go, an upscale Moonwatch that retains the best of the NASA issue with a few refinements for the ground-bound flight enthusiast. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Omega Moonwatch. Note the chronograph seconds hand is loomed.